Hi everyone, it's Justine here from House of Mahalo. Thanks so much for joining me. So I'm back with my Winter Woods journal, and I think it's about time we started to work on the flip out sections on the inside covers that we're going to do. So we're going to start with that in this video, and I would like to start on the left hand side. So I'll just show you what I'm thinking so that you know what we're doing. So I have my panel all ready to go. I have just a simple brown craft envelope. This would be about 6x4 sort of size, you know, like standard greeting card size. And that's going to flip out from that section. On the front of here, I'm going to use one of my fold out belly band type things, but I'm actually going to use it as a side tuck. I do have a video of doing these, made from paper bags. And on the back, I'm just going to have a little pocket. Again, I also have a video on those, so I'll make sure you've got all of the links to find those videos. But I'm thinking about this back panel, and I really want something that is quite, you know, because we've got quite a bit of size on this back panel. And I thought about having something like this. So I've made this from 2 paper bags, and what we have is a pocket in the front, another pocket that actually goes all the way down, so you can see there we get double length of a pocket, and then the whole paper bag at the back is a pocket as well. So quite a lot of room, quite a lot of tags and goodies and different things that we can fit in something like this, and it's really simple to do. So that is going to be what we're going to do for the back panel. So I thought you might like to see how I went about making that. So you want 2 paper bags that are the same, and the idea is it's almost like you kind of can't tell that it's pieces of paper bag joined together. So that's why we really want to go with paper bags that are the same. So I have these pretty white and gold ones, which I thought would be really nice for Winter Woods. So I'm just going to start by just folding over the tops. So these are the weak parts of the paper bag. Okay, so I'm going to start with the one I'm going to have at the back. So I've just folded over the top, and I'm actually going to glue that inside the paper bag. I'm just going to come along with a bit of glue. Now don't use too much glue, because you may find that because the paper bags are relatively thin, you may find that the glue not warps, but can bubble up slightly. But if that does happen to you, don't worry too much, because we can always decorate up the pockets like you've seen me do with the ruffles. So I'll be doing that again today. You know, the bubbling up can be hidden by that. Okay, so just make sure that's glued down nicely, and that without gluing the paper bag shut, and that will just give your paper bag just a little bit of extra strength. So that's the back one, so we'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, so now we've got these 2 pieces are going to be the front 2 pockets, and essentially it's just a case of cutting them in half like this. So you've got 1, 2. But before we do that, I'm just going to fold up and glue just this bottom. Again, just for a little bit of stability. And again, I'm just going to glue that inside so it's nicely hidden. Okay. And then what you want to do is just cut that bag in half, or it doesn't have to be exactly in half, but I went with in half. So I think that would be about there-ish. So let's cut it cutting it at 9 centimeters. So I think that's just a little bit shy of half, but just make sure we're straight. Okay. And then because that's opened up the bag, again, we're just going to run a little bit of glue just to close those up, and that will act as a little bit of strength as well. Again, I'm not putting on heaps of glue because I don't want my bags to warp. And I've got one open here. This one is open both sides, so I'm going to run some glue top and bottom on this one. Now, in case you're wondering why I used paper bags, that's why. It's the crinkle. I thought it would make a really fun, because these are winter projects I'm working on, I thought it would be fun to have, I suppose, that crinkly of frosty, crunchy leaves, the snow as you first crunch down on it, that was kind of what I had in my head. So it's a little bit abstract, I suppose, but I thought that would be a good analogy, metaphor, whatever you want to call it, for that sort of thing. So it's going to make a really nice crinkle when someone's pulling stuff, you know, in and out of the pockets. Okay, so I'm just trying my best just to make sure that glue is nicely flat and not bubbling up too much. I'm just running my hand over the joins, fingers over the joins, just to have that go. Okay, so now we've got the back of our paper bag. So this is the big one. So I'm going to just have a little look. And so this was the bag where I folded up the bottom and glued it inside. So I'm going to have that be this back piece here. So that's going to be hidden. So that's going to go something like that. And then this one is a little bit neater because all of that is hidden at the back. This one is going to be the one that comes in the front. And I'm just going to adjust this one slightly to make it a little bit longer so that it fills up my back panel more than what it would do currently. Okay, lovely. So for this one, we're just going to run glue along the left and right side, not the bottom, because that will allow this pocket, and I'm just going to, anything that's popping up slightly, I'm just going to run some glue so it doesn't get in the way of us putting things in and out of the pocket. And the reason that I've only glued two sides of this is so that, because this side here is open at the bottom, that allows us then, whatever we put in this pocket will go all the way down and get caught by this one, which will be glued at the bottom. I hope that makes sense. It just is a little trick for building pockets like this. Essentially, it's a stacked pocket. And it just means that you can fit more in, longer tags. If you don't want longer tags, if you want everything to be, you know, the same sort of size, so like this sort of size, then you would glue the bottom so that you don't have this big pocket. It's up to you really, isn't it? Okay, and then this one, I'm going to glue it on two sides only because I'm not attaching it to my back panel yet. But if you were gluing this straight down onto your page, you would glue along the bottom here because that's going to trap everything. But because I'm not attaching it to my page yet, I don't want to do that just yet. Just get rid of that glue at that bottom. Whoops. Yeah, just make sure everything is relatively straight, in line with each other. Just give it a little bit of a wiggle. There we go. Trying very hard not to glue things to my desk. Sometimes it's easier for you to work straight onto your page of your journal or your folio. But, you know, for these videos, it's sometimes easier just to show you building the pocket, and then you can do what you like. So when it comes to gluing this down onto the page, I would glue essentially along the bottom here and along the two sides. So it's still glued on three sides like a pocket, but this is essentially now all of the paper bags joined together. And because I've got this paper bag open to give me that extra crinkle, I would probably glue this whole bit down as well, actually thinking about it, because I don't want anything to go in the back there. You could have something in the side, but I think 3 pockets is probably enough for what I want to use, but you do have options, so, you know, go with what you think is best. Now, I have got this pretty white ruffle I just made with a strip of lace, you know, and I thought this would be mimicking kind of like a snowy type of vibe. So I'm going to run that along my pocket. So just got some fabric glue. Just making sure I've got it the right way around. but you could decorate these however you like. I just thought this would be really, really pretty. I do like to go pretty with winter. And I've used, for example, on here, I've used a little bit of ruffling. So I figured, you know, to make it all seem like I've made this together, everything is intentional, I suppose. I thought, you know, repeat the themes throughout. So if you've used ruffling somewhere, you may want to use ruffling somewhere else so that it feels in keeping, even if you've made the pieces separately, because it's actually a year between making this one and that one. Just put some extra glue. So yeah, essentially we're making a stacked pocket using a paper bag. But as I said, you could use anything. I've used book pages, envelopes. You could just use cardstock. All kinds of things make this type of a pocket. Essentially, all you want is just a few pieces of the same thing. Probably, you know, rectangular pieces. Well, that was just enough, look. And you just join them all together, really. That's kind of it. Okay, now I'm just gluing the ruffle slightly above the top of the pocket so that the joins are hidden. Okay, and then just cut off a little bit there. Okay, and then for the back piece, there's not enough room for me to do another ruffle, and also I don't have enough ruffle. So I'm just going to put a thumb notch in this back one, just so that it looks intentional that it doesn't have ruffle on it. There we go. So it still shows that it's a pocket, but it's it doesn't look weird that it doesn't then have any ruffling. So when I made this one, I don't know if you'll be able to see that slight shine, both on the fabric and also on the tree. This is using stickles. I have diamond stickles, and essentially I think this looks really nice for just a little bit of a, you know, an icicle shimmer. So I'm going to put some along this fabric. I'm thinking I'll just pop it on my finger so I can just dab it. Maybe I can just go ahead and just want to squeeze a little bit out, and then I just want to dab it in so that it's just that slight icicle shimmer, and then that way I can leave this to dry. Getting it more on myself than the project, but you know, that's always the way, isn't it? More glue on yourself than the project, more everything on yourself than the project. But I might need to put a little bit more glue on that one, but that's okay. Okay, lovely. So as I said, that's diamond stickles. You get stickles in all different colours, but I just use that one because it's subtle, I think. And then, can you see that? Just that slight shimmer. I'm hoping the camera is picking it up. Just that little bit of a sparkle to make it feel like snow. Now, I don't know if I'm going to decorate this up further. I may. It depends how it all looks with everything in the pockets, because obviously, you know, once we start putting things in pockets, I don't really have anything to hand, but just pretend. You know, once you start putting things in, oops, yeah, that's open at the bottom, because I need to glue the whole thing down. Once you start putting things in, you know, that's going to be quite a lot going on. So I don't want to do too much at this point, because I would like to see how everything looks. But essentially, that's how you make a stacked pocket using paper bags. Okay, so I'm just going to work on the flip outs, you know, individually. And one thing that I wanted to do with this one is, so this is the one that's going to have this on it. I wanted to just give the background a something. I love this craft brown, but I've just gone over it with a bit of swirly stenciling, and I used walnut stain just because it showed up a little bit better than the vintage photo. And then I've just gone and inked around the whole thing with vintage photo. But what I'd like to do is just give it a little bit of a wintry sparkle. So I'm using Brilliant's Dewdrop and a snowflake stamp. So I'm just stamping off the excess on the book, because I just want it to be subtly a few snowflakes. Again, just to bring in the you know, the silver and the white and the glistening together. So I'm just coming down like so, go off the page a little bit. Don't want to do it too much. As I said, I do want it to be subtle, so I'm just going to now do a few random ones. As I said, it'll just be that little bit of a, oh, I forgot to stamp the book, that little bit of a shimmer with those pretty snowflakes. Really pretty, that. I'll have a look at what it looks like with the, and then I'll just do some very faint ones. Gives it a bit of dimension then if you've got dark and, you know, bright and faint, bold and faint. Because then it feels like some are in the background and some are closer or what have you. Can you see that? As I said, it's very, very subtle, but it is there. So I think it's worth doing just those little touches where you can. And then that's going to go like that. So you just get this little bit of a snowflakes falling down. So I'm just going to need to leave that to dry for a bit because that's a very dewy, very dewy stamp ink. So as I say, that was the Brilliance Dewdrop. I think it's Memento that do these. Yeah, I bought a whole bunch of these recently. If anyone, you know, if you ever do have any questions about supplies that I'm using, you're more than welcome to ask. I always do, you know, respond back. And you know, it's good to know if you want to know more about supplies that I use. So that's going to go on there. I don't know if I'll do any more decoration because my plan is to have this be a side pocket for you to then have something coming out of the pocket. So that will be something. And then it opens up for a writing spot. And then because I used a paper bag, the whole thing is a pocket for a tag, which is kind of fun. Okay, so before I do that, yeah, so I do love this brown craft card, but I want this whole envelope to also be a pocket. And so in order to do that, I kind of need to close up, can you see there where it, the envelope stops and finishes? So we need to close that up, and I'm thinking to use this piece that I've got, which doesn't fit exactly, as you can see. So I am going to cut this envelope down just a tad, and I need to open it up anyway. Okay, so this is the part that's going to be the flip out that's going to attach to the panel, and this side without the flap is going to be the bit that we're cutting. But because my cardstock doesn't reach perfectly, I do actually have to cut off my top. It's just because, you know, I want to use this piece and I don't want to have to cut another one, so I'm just going to cut a little bit more off. It will give me a brown border anyway, which I like, because as I said, I really like the craft card for this project. So I want to see it where I can, you see. Okay, lovely. And then I'm just going to make a mark as to where to cut along the side. So this is going to be the part that I'm going to keep open, because that's going to be my pocket. Just come in a bit more. Okay, lovely. So this is the great thing about envelopes, is they can be, you know, pages and flip outs in their own right, especially with the use of the envelope flap. So I'm just gluing the top closed. But they can also be pockets, which is great. Envelopes are probably my favourite thing to use in journals and folios because they are super versatile. So if you ever see me raving about envelopes, it's because you can get them in different sizes, different colours, and you can do so many things with them. So if I was going to say, you know, if you're relatively new to journaling and you're wondering what supplies to get, genuinely, I would say one of the best things you can have in your stash is a bunch of different envelopes. I really do think that. Okay, so we've got that. So as I said, this whole piece is going to be a pocket on the side here. And I want this to go this way. Yep, lovely. So what we want to do is, I don't want to glue this section here where it's the front of the envelope and the inside. We don't want to get glue all the way across there because it makes your pocket smaller. But what I do want to do is just come along the inside here, wibbly wibbly, just to then close up my pocket. And because of the type of envelope that this is, I can just go all around here now. If you were using a more traditional envelope, you would have to probably be a little bit more careful about where you're putting glue because you don't want it to go in the inside here, but I can cover all of this over. So that's fine. So that's the way we're going. Hopefully I've got the glue in the right place. Probably would have been easier, thinking about it, to have glued the cardstock rather than the envelope. But I'm so used to using normal envelopes where, you know, there's a bigger, it's the ones with the big flaps, you know, they're called invitation envelopes. I think they're called invitation envelopes. The very traditional envelopes that you're used to seeing are a little bit harder to glue because you have to be extra careful where you put in the glue, but I'm very used to using that type of envelope rather than these. I just got these ones free with blank greeting cards from a very cheap stationery shop. Another reason to love envelopes, they are cheap. They are definitely a budget supply, especially if you can get, you know, greeting card packs and you've got the card as well that you can make, you know, tags and journal cards with. Yeah, if I haven't convinced you about envelopes yet, I don't know what will. Okay. This one is a very strong envelope, so I didn't feel the need to tape or reinforce the flap. It is very, very strong, thick craft paper. So I didn't feel the need to do that. But if you were using, you know, more budget envelopes, I suppose, or ones that certainly are not as strong, you might need to reinforce the flap, but I didn't need to in this case. Yes, I'm loving that together. Okay, right, so I think the next thing will be to just simply get this flap on. So just going to take off this, but I'm not going to rely on that. I want glue. So I'm going to use my Kalal glue. You can use any glue for this, just as long as it's strong. And ideally, glue that gives you wiggle room, because we want to make sure that we are getting the flap in the right place so it doesn't come out wonky. And don't put heaps of glue on, because you don't want it seeping out everywhere and giving you a sticky mess. Okay. So that's where I want it to be. I'm just using my panel as a guide, so I basically wanted to see a little bit at the bottom and then obviously the whole way round. Okay, and I just want to make sure that's in the right place. Might need to go with a little bit of extra glue, but it's always best to err on the side of caution, because you can always add more glue later, but you can't take it away. I learned that lesson very early on, trust me. So as I said, I can just get in there with my little nozzle, like so. Now I personally am fine with seeing part of that craft envelope as a border there. As I said, I did want a border the whole way round. If that was like a bright red envelope or something, that would be a different story. I wouldn't want to see that for this project. For a Christmas project maybe, but not for a, you know, winter woods. So if that was the case, I probably would have put tape or paper or something over it. so that you don't see that. But for me, I'm liking seeing this brown border where possible. Okay, and then the pocket I've chosen for here is this one. It's a torn paper pocket. This paper is similar to this, and this is all cardstock from the same paper pack, but my kit is going really, really well with it. So I'm going to use this. As I said, I do have a video for making these. So I'm just going to glue this on 2 sides. And this type of a pocket with the torn look is one of my favourite to make because they're super easy. You don't need any precise cutting. So super easy, no precise cutting, and I think they look so interesting with the, I'm just going to get some extra glue under there. I think they look really interesting with the torn look to them. So we've got a pocket there and a pocket in the front, just for a few bits and bobs. And then of course this is all nicely decorated. I may very well add more to that later. Okay, I'm just going to bring in this because I just want to see how it's all looking together so far. So sometimes when you're making folios and flip outs that go on top of each other, sometimes you'll love how something looks together. So that with that, I think looks really, really nice, especially once those pockets are filled with different things. And I love this with this. I think that's all looking just how I wanted it. What I don't love is randomly being able to see parts of the paper bags. Certainly not at first glance, not exactly like that. So what I might want to do, and what I think I'm going to do, is introduce an extra envelope, which would be there, I think. That's it. And then this would be decorated up. So all you're seeing is just this little hint of this paper bag here, which I think is just fine. And I'm not feeling like, for example, I don't mind seeing it there and then you open up to find it. So I'm happy with all that. But essentially just introducing an extra flip out sometimes is the thing that you want it to be. So I'm going to sort that in a second. And I'm just going to move that because those stickles are technically still drying. But what I'd like to do is decide where I'm putting this bunny. I think I want it at the bottom. And as I said, this is going to be a side tuck. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down because I'm ready for this. So I just want to run some glue. I'm going to do a couple of lines of this glue because it is only a paper bag at the end of the day. I'm not going to fit anything huge in this as a side tuck. So essentially just glued that on 3 sides, and I'm just coming in a little bit so I can still see a brown border. Okay, and then just glue that. Okay, so I'm just going to open that up and just make sure we're all glued down where I want it to be. There we go. And I like that this opens up for like a full page of writing. Which is pretty cool. Okay, and then this whole piece here is open at the side. So eventually, I don't know what I'm going to put in there, but eventually I'll have something poking out like that, which I think would look good. And then of course the whole thing is a writing spot and also a pocket. So I'm really happy with how that's looking. I like that I can see that poking out at the bottom. I might even put a little bit along here maybe just to bring the fabric and the ruffles and everything in more. Okay, so I'm happy with how that's looking. But as I mentioned, sometimes you do need to bring in extra flip outs. Okay, so very simple envelope. This I think is a DL envelope, but I am going to cut it down slightly. I have this. Now originally I made this as a double side pocket, but there's not really enough room for that. So it's just going to be a side pocket. And I made this from a digital from, I think it was Victoria Designs, her Winter Wonderland kit. Just the whole sheet of paper folded and folded to make these really nice side pocket type of situation. And what I think I'm going to do is give this a brown border the whole way round. But I do want to cut the envelope down because I don't want the border to be quite that sizable. So I'm going to cut there and there to give me that brown border that I like. Okay, so I'm just going to chop open this side first. I won't be using this one as a pocket, this envelope. I'm just using it as a page. As to why I've made that decision, not really any reason as such, but just more the fact I think I've probably got enough pockets going on where I've got plenty of room in the spine, so I'm not worried about that. Just more the fact of, like, you know, sometimes things get too much, don't they? And because I'm not using this as a pocket, I'm just going to really roughly glue the envelope closed. Lovely. As I said, I'm just going to use this as essentially like a page, a flip out page. Okay, so that's that. And then because this envelope is a little bit weaker and also the inside is a bit shiny, I'm going to use my trusty brown craft paper tape. I use this for everything. And I'm just going to pop that in there. And that just reinforces this envelope. Sometimes you do need to do that, especially if you're adding, you know, pockets or cardstock to it or something. Oop, getting stuck with the scissors. There we go. Got it. So yeah, it will just reinforce it, but it will also give it a nicer craft brown rather than a shiny brown for this type of envelope. Okay, so I'm just gonna see how I feel about that. Yeah, just a hint of a brown border. So I'm going to just quickly ink around this envelope just because I have done the other ones, so I should do it here. So I'm going to ink front and back and then I know it's done. Okay, and then this piece, I have this from, this piece here, it's the same. I have this off cut, so I'm going to use this one. I just need to trim it down a little bit. And to be perfectly honest with you, I will probably just use this front piece as a decorative page. I don't feel the need to add any additional pockets, I don't think, not at this point anyway. I'm quite happy with how that looks, just as, you know, snowy and the flowers and everything that we have going on. And I could always add an animal or snowflakes or something to decorate it, but I don't feel the need to add ephemera to this piece. Just thought I would mention in case you were wondering. Okay, so this whole piece can just be glued down, so I'm going to use the Kalal. I do like this for large paper to paper surface areas, just as long as it doesn't spew out too much. Make sure, so flipping out that way, okay, lovely. the thing with flip outs, you do always have to just double check which way is the envelope going to flip open. So where is the flap, and thus which way round it's going to flip. Is it flipping out to the left or the right, or what's it doing? And if you're anything like me, sometimes you just have to double check. Because my brain doesn't work when things are upside down or left and right. My brain doesn't work like that. But I do love flip outs. Oh, that looks so lovely like that. Okay. And then what I'm thinking, I'm tempted to just go ahead and glue this on. So what I'm doing is I'm just looking for this envelope and the one behind it. I want them to be in line with each other. And once I'm happy, I'm just going to come on with my glue. Oops. Again, be careful just with the edges. You don't want too much glue seeping out everywhere. Just want to double check. Oh good, I'm fine. I thought I'd gone too close to the inside here. I thought I had too much glue, but it's fine. Okay, just make sure that's all down nicely. I do love making folios. They're some of my favourite projects to do because I find, you know, all these flip outs and things really, really interesting to make, but also interesting to use, and then now we have that together, which I think is looking really nice. Yeah, lovely. Okay, and then this is to go on the back of here, and again, because I don't have room for this to be a double side pocket like I'd originally planned, I'm just going to glue the whole thing down. Whoopsie daisy. And the good thing about doing a project like this, so I'm making a Winter Woods project and I'm using lots of brown envelopes in the project. The good thing about doing that is it also means that you don't have to cover the front and back of every single envelope as well. So if you think about what colour envelopes you're using for your project, you know, I've got this brown, natural brown border, which I'm really liking. Things like that, it just makes it a little bit easier when you come to make it, I think. You know, if you don't have to cover, like for example, this pocket, essentially this is the equivalent of me covering the back, but it's also a pocket. So I think with that in mind, you can build up some interesting pieces of ephemera. And have the ephemera do the matting. Okay, and then once that goes there, the stickles isn't quite dry yet, so I can't glue this down. But once I do, as I mentioned, I'll glue the whole back of this down. And when that's in there, that's going to look really nice. We've got lots of whites and browns together. And then, yeah, I'm much preferring how that looks. I think once I've got something in this pocket as well, I'll like it even more. So what I'm actually thinking is I have a scrap left over. I'm wondering if I were to make a tag out of this motif here with the, I can't remember what these are. They, you know, the cotton balls, I think it is. Is it cotton? Whatever image that is of those flowers or plant, I think having that repeated is going to be quite nice. So I think I'll make a tag out of that scrap, and then it gets the scrap used as well, which is always a plus. Or a journal card. Tag or a journal card, I'm not sure, but something like that to go in there. And then we get some nice layers going on, I think. I'll probably want to do something else with that, decorate it, or have something else in the pocket with it. But I think, yeah, that way. I think that's going to look really nice. So we're just going to keep building it up like that. So I hope that you are enjoying seeing how this project is coming together. So this was the left hand side. So if I bring out my cover, now this whole panel, once I'm happy that I'm finished, which I'm, you know, more or less done. I'm just going to take that out so I'm not getting stickles everywhere. You know, once I'm happy, this whole panel, so this whole cereal box piece can just be glued in there once I'm ready. I think I want to do a little bit more stitching down the spine before I do. But once I'm ready, this whole piece can just be glued in, and then that's going to be the left hand side. So we have a writing spot, side pocket, another pocket, the whole envelope is a pocket, double pocket there. I think I just want this to be something decorative, you know, some animals or something on it. We'll have the paper bag pockets, and then we've got the side pocket. So I've just been thinking about this piece that we've just done here. Now I love how it's all looking, but because there's quite a lot of, you know, we've got ruffles and bulk and different things going on, this is kicking up a little bit, which is not a huge issue. I really don't think it is, but I'm wondering whether not only to add to decoration, but also to help that lay a bit flatter, and also add another element of interactivity, which I do love. Recently, I've been building in charm type things that you swivel in order to open something up. And I'm wondering whether this pretty little, I think it's a star, could actually be quite a nice thing to incorporate here. Okay, so I'm just going to move the cover out of the way. I just wanted to show you how it was all looking, really. Now, I will say, ideally, you would think about this kind of a detail before you've built up the whole thing. And the reason I say that is because we're going to have to attach this with a brad, and the brad legs are going to appear somewhere. So that's one thing I will say, but I wanted to include this still, because if you get to a certain point of the process and think, oh, I wish I'd added that, I wish I'd done that, there are always ways that you can do these things. So in my case, I'm going to have it attached to this envelope, so that's where the brad is going to go through. Now, on the back here, we have this pocket, and if the brad leg goes all the way through, it's going to interfere with the pocket and not allow it to be the size that I want it to be. But what if I very carefully opened that up and had brad legs inside the pocket? I think that would work just fine. So first things first, I'm going to put my charm where I want it to be for practical reasons, but also decorative reasons. I think I want it just there. And I'm just going to do, very carefully, a little mark with my awl, so I know where I'm going. And when you're deciding where this charm is going to be, you need to make sure that it's got enough room to cover the thing that you're using as the closure. So in this case, it's keeping this whole piece down here, but enough room that when it swivels, it's going to be out of the way for you to open that up. I hope that makes sense. Okay, right. So I know where I'm putting my awl. I'm just going to peel back that pocket so I don't go through it. And I'm just going to very carefully pop my awl through. I'm going very slowly, very carefully, so as not to catch my fingers, but also I don't want to go through anything that I don't want to see. Like so. Now, if this envelope had been a pocket, like we did on this one, then you would just put the brad legs through there and then open up the envelope and open up the brad. But in this case, the pocket is not open. Okay, so then put your charm in place where you think you want it to be, and pop your brad through. And then very carefully just open up those brad legs. I know you can't see inside this pocket, but the only way I'm going to be able to do this is if I can see myself what I'm doing. But all I've done is just opened up those brad legs inside that pocket. And then what we can do, so that those don't interfere with anything going in and out of the pocket, I'm just going to put some tape over the brad legs. Like so. And yes, I admit someone will see it if they open up the pocket like this, but in all honesty, is anyone really going to do that? Very unlikely, because the idea here is that things can just come in and out of this pocket like that. So that's just the one thing I will say. But at least now I can have a star. Is it a star? Is it a snowflake? I think it's a star. I can have this little star closure. Now, obviously this looks a little bit random on this page, but when I come to decorate, I'll probably incorporate something on here to make this look more intentional. So I might have this be part of like a little picture or a little word, a little collage. I might very well add more snowflakes along as like little die cut snowflakes all the way down, something like that. So when you're looking at this one, this is like the North Star, if you want to call it that. So it's the special one, and then you've got all the other things dotted around. But I just wanted to include that because I love little details like this. I love including stuff like this. I just think it adds, you know, uniqueness. It adds something beautiful. I feel like it's finished that off really nicely. Now I don't feel like I really need to decorate that brown envelope, if at all. Like, I don't feel like I need to. But it's also practical because now this whole piece is not kicking up like it was. As you can see, it did kick up a little bit just because of how many layers we've got. So I wanted to include that little nugget just in case it's useful for you to know, and hopefully it's given you some inspiration. So this charm just came off of some jewellery, and you just want some little brads to go with it, and you can use any charm, just as long as it's big enough that it will act as a little closure. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing that project to come together. When I come back, we'll be working on the right hand side. But just before you go, I also wanted to mention something else that you may find inspiring. I would like to invite you to join the Mahalo Clubhouse. Now, if you've never heard about this before, it's hosted by me, and it's a friendly online community and a monthly membership for crafters who want to feel inspired, motivated and supported year round. I have recently revamped it completely for 2025, so it's got a brand new look, brand new benefits and lots of good stuff to inspire you. So, as a member of the Mahalo Clubhouse, there's lots that you can look forward to every single month, such as brand new digital papers designed by me to help inspire you. You can also get inspiration from my upcoming projects and videos without ads distracting you or getting in the way of you learning. You also get early access to my videos, so you see them before they go up on YouTube. You'll be able to have your questions answered fully whenever you have them via live video calls that we do every month, and also we have a Facebook group. The live video calls are recorded, so even if you can't attend live, there are recordings and replays that you can watch in your own time. And also you have the option to submit questions and conversation topics ahead of time, so even if you're not there, you can still benefit from the live calls. But also there is already lots of good stuff to look forward to inside the Clubhouse, lots of bonuses including discounts to spend in my business, and also some bonus projects and videos that currently are not shared anywhere else. So there's lots to dive into. Even if you join today, there's lots to look forward to, lots to go through already, plus all of the monthly stuff, the new stuff that comes in every month. Really, my goal for anyone joining the Mahalo Clubhouse is to be inspired to try new things, but to feel fully supported and confident when you do. Really, that's the goal for all of my content, whether it's a blog post, a YouTube video, or the stuff I share in the membership. It's always with the goal that I want you to feel inspired, and I want to give, advice and ideas, inspiration and tutorials that will help you feel confident to try these new things. But If you do want more, if you want more me time, more inspiration, those digital papers every month, the live video calls and everything else that comes with the membership, then I do hope that you will consider checking out my webpage. You can go to houseofmahalo.com/clubhouse, or I will leave a link down to it below for you so you can check that out. So I hope to see some of you in the Clubhouse, but even if you decide that it's not right for you, I still hope that you get some ideas and inspiration from my videos. And I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Thanks so much then. Bye-bye for now.